Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 102 of the Alfa Romeo Driver Podcast, brought to you by the Alfa Romeo Owners Club. We started this back at the beginning of COVID as a part-time project just to keep members entertained for a couple of weeks. And here we are 4 years later, still doing it.
Still trying to entertain them.
Still trying to entertain them, or entertaining ourselves mostly, I think. This is actually our third live podcast. We did one for the launch of the Alfa Romeo Junior, and we did one for the launch of the 33 Stradale. But this is the first time we've done one with live warm bodies in the audience. So welcome, everybody. With me, my name's Guy Swarbrick. I'm the editor of Alfa Romeo Driver, which is the club magazine for those of you who aren't club members. And with me, I have... Oh, sorry.
Get your timer going.
Yeah, my timer going. Otherwise, the next podcast will get very annoyed if we're still here nattering away and they're supposed to be starting. With me, I have club chairman John Griffiths and club manager Nick Wright. So I'm just going to ask the two of them to do a quick introduction and tell a little bit about what their role is with the club and how many decades they've been doing it.
Yeah. So I'm John Griffiths, and I've been a club member since I was a mere child. I discovered these funny cars that used to go rusty, but sounded amazing, and a little Alfa Sud TI in the 1980s. And I got into that car because I'd been to Mallory Park, my local racetrack, and saw some of these fabulous little Alfa Suds buzzing round. And then I saw one for sale, and I thought, oh, let's have a go in it. And I'd got a Capri at the time, which was terrible. Terrible. Drove up the road in the Sud. Phew, that was it, sold. Literally went round the corner. Here's my cash. And I then went to Stanford Hall, where the Alfa Romeo Owners Club was having its regular National Alfa Day. And bingo, that was it. I was, 20 years old, just fell in love with the whole thing. And many years later, after doing stuff at a local level, I've ended up being the club chairman and events director, because we really enjoy, one of the big parts of the club is getting everybody together. And we've grown those events from the Stanford Hall days now to National Alfa Day, attracting 2,500 people at Bicester, which is phenomenal, given in all those years, the number of Alfas has dropped steadily to today. There's only 80,000 on the road. And our club membership's gone from maybe 2,000 to 4,500, and it's still rising.
You say there's 80,000 on the road. I think Dave Atkins owns about 4,000.
Yeah, he does, yeah. So, there's a good proportion of Alfas out there that are owned by club members, which is brilliant. So, but yeah, the club events is the big thing that we love doing. NEC's part of it, so... over in Hall 1, we've got a lovely selection of members' cars. And this show is 40 years old, and A-Rock is 60 years old, and we've been at every single one. I've only been involved myself for about 24 years, I think, but it's just great to get a variety of Alfas, and that's what always attracted me to it. There's so many Alfa Romeos, about 100 models, and they're all fascinating. And they all have this little thread of DNA, apart from a DNA controller. But, the DNA is there. And it's been fab seeing everything grow. And we've got a brilliant team. There's a fabulous team of people, not just on the management committee. Obviously, these guys are a big part of that. But in the area sections and registers that look after the cars. And so we're trying to make this a big, thriving community. And we have overseas people as well. And we have new members in the audience from Sri Lanka who joined up today. So good to see you, Thomas. But yeah, it's all part of the fun of a car club in general. But the events is the big thing. But Nick, I mean, you've been a big part. You've loved Alfas for ages. It just so happens to be your job now, doesn't it?
I know. How lucky can you get? They say if you do what you like doing, it's not a job, is it? But it's. I am fortunate from that point of view. So I've been a club member for a long time. 2011, I was fortunate enough to take over being the club manager as a full-time role for the club. It's the only full-time role we have. The membership in that time has grown from like 2,700 to over 4,500 it is now. And I emphasise that's not down to me Totally. As you said, there's a big team behind it. There's a big team behind the whole thing, and it's as John always says, I'm the glue that holds everything together, pulls it all together.
24/7.
Yeah. During the summer it is, because we're at events, weekends, obviously working, and during the week, so it's good. But it's good to say it's a big team effort, and it's really rewarding to see the club doing so well now in this day and age. So really good.
Lucky man.
I'd almost forgotten my origin story.
Yeah.
So I bought my first car at the point when we were transitioning away from leaded petrol, and I had a bank loan in place. I had an absolute cast iron plan, £2,500 to spend on a diesel Sierra. Got the local paper, opened the classified ads, which obviously the car section started with A. Alfa Sud Sprint, £2,500. No, that sounds like a much better plan.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, hardened valve seats, so it was fine on unleaded anyway.
Fantastic.
So that's more than enough about us. For those of you who haven't been there already, we do have a large stand in Hall 1. And I thought we'd just spend a little bit of time, particularly for the people who are going to be listening to the edited version of this later on, which will be exactly the same, but with all the ums and the ahs removed.
Be about 10 minutes long, won't it?
Yeah, it'll be about 10 minutes long, yeah. Just a guide to what's on the stand. And for those of you who haven't been there yet, just give you an idea of what's there and a little bit of the history of the cars on the stand.
Yeah, I'll kick off. So we have a little heads together normally in the summer as to what will the theme be, and obviously 60th anniversary of the club, we thought we'd have a nice selection of cars, and we were very lucky to start with a club member for many years, Dave Ward, who's been rebuilding over more than 10 years a Giulia Sprint Speciale, the amazing aerodynamic Bertoni car.
Was anybody here for the Practical Classics show in March?
Lots of shaking heads.
That car was on the stand in March with no glass and in a very, I say early state of restoration. It was about 14 years into restoration.
We've had several people come on over the course of the last 2 days saying they couldn't believe it's the same car.
Yeah,
so there you go.
It's just got some paint, but not a lot else. But yeah, Dave's done an incredible job. If you go over there, you'll see he's got some photos of the restoration. There's one in particular that you notice. The car's on its stands, and he's got his daughter standing in it through the floor with her feet on the ground. And she was 10 then. And she was 21 last week, and it's finished. So it's a wonderful thing.
Well, you say finished.
Ish. That you never
As I said on the last podcast, when you're doing a classic restoration, it's not the first 99% that's the problem. It's the second 99%.
Yeah, it'll be another 10 years, but it's gorgeous. It really is. So that's the earliest, and the same age as the club. It's the kind of car that the Owners Club, when they met at the Steering Wheel Club in London in 1964, was just the thing. You needed help. There was no internet, and there was no dealers as such, and specialists. It was people helping each other with these really unusual Italian cars, and it was really great to get that one to illustrate the start of the club. Really, following that, we had to have a 105 series car. So we've got a fabulous Bertoni coupe, but it's very much a resto mod now, a bit like a Singer Porsche, and it's had some breathing on it by the amazing guys at Alfaholics. So it belongs to Roger Kay. He's rather handy with metalwork himself, so he found a late shell, had it modified to a step front like the, hugely expensive GTAs of the 1960s, and he's an ex-Alfa Club racing driver as well, so obviously it's tuned to tremendous performance.
And I think he described it as a shortcut, so he did all the bodywork himself, then took it to Alfaholics to finish it off, and went back and picked it up 2 years later.
Yeah, so just the finishing, but it's got stuff like limited slip diff on the back, and even hollowed out drive shafts and titanium stuff, and a gorgeous leather interior and billet aluminium pedals, and it's just a jewel. But I was lucky to go around the Kerber circuit on an Alfa Club track day with him. He'd never been on the track before, and he had it sideways by the second corner, deliberately, I must add. It's just a tremendous car, and everybody knows Chris Harris off of various shows and Top Gear for a while. and it's like his
Chris and
favourite.
Paddy's road trip, that one.
Oh, not that one. No, but it's his favourite car. He just adores them, and so we had to have a Bertoni, and what a great way to show those off. And then so many people got into Alfa Romeos through Alfa Suds. So of course we've got an Alfa Sud on the stand, gorgeous TIX belonging to Gary Orchard, a white one. It's kind of it's had a full restoration in its time, but it's still got a lot of standard original panels, which is amazing. Fresh coat of paint, but he was even able to find things like a new old stock rear bumper that was 30 years old. Stuff like that. I mean, it's taken him ages to build it up. But again, he raced in the club's championship for many years, racing Alfa Suds, and he kind of just had to have one. So it took him many years to rebuild it, but it's a work of art when you see it today. It looks like it's just come out of the showroom. Next to that, we thought we'd have a transaxle car, as we call it. So we've got an Alfetta GTV6, and I'm sure everybody watches Clarkson's Farm, and of course he has a GTV6. He had one as a younger man in the 80s and loved it. And he says he'll never be parted from one again. So we thought let's have a GTV6 on. There's quite a few beautiful ones in the club, and Alex Duper runs our Alfetta register. He's well known for Alex Duke Motorsports. Free advert, we'll charge him. Yeah.
Can you charge for a free advert?
No.
We can do what we want. It's our podcast.
Yeah. So Alex has helped with this car. He's involved with many restorations. But Hamish, again, it's a bit of a resto mod. He's transplanted its original 2.5 V6 for a 3-litre V6 out of an Alfa 75. It's a late model, gorgeous silver thing. It's a car I always lusted after over the years, but was terrified with its mechanical complexity. But you compare that was mechanical complexity, whereas today it's all electronic. If my Julia goes wrong, I'm stuffed beyond going to a dealer. But with that one, you could get your spanners out. So that's that one. And then we thought, coming a bit more up to date, we thought we'd go with an extremely popular model in the Owners Club is the GTV and Spider 916 series. So we found Neil Henderson's 1998 car that's super representative. It's not over-restored. He just so conveniently happens to be a professional detailer with, I think it's Cotswold bespoke. So he's polished the hell out of that car. It's had a little bit of paint because the bumpers faded and kind of went Alfa Racing pink, but he repainted it and it's come up beautifully.
I would say the engine bay was a bit dirty for him, so he took the whole engine out to clean it.
Yeah, he did.
We all do that on a Sunday morning, don't you? Take the engine out, clean the engine bay, put it back in.
And coming a little bit more up to date, we've got a 156 GTA. So again, Alfa 156, huge seller for Alfa Romeo. At one time, there were 36,000 of them on the roads in the UK. I had a quick check on how many left last night. There's about 1,000. So it's already becoming a future classic. And the GTA is something else, and they've always been special from brand new. It's got that Busso engine for the amazing sound. Most have had limited slip diffs fitted now for that, so they don't try and kill you quite as much in corners.
Reminds me of another one of my mistaken purchases.
Go on.
I actually went into a dealership to buy a 156 diesel sport wagon and came out having bought a 147 GTA.
Yeah,
it's easy to do.
V6. Slight mistake. Was it sat there in red or something? Or
it was their first day of test drives. So
right.
I said, well, I'll take one for a test drive, but I'm going to buy a diesel estate.
Yeah, no. But you sold it. Brilliant. So that's Dave Atkins's. He's a serial Alfa owner, serial Alfa nut. Little story. He's got a 155 Q4 at the moment that was at the show last year. He's got, as everybody does, he's got a Giulia Quadrifoglio as an everyday, as you do, in Montreal Green. He really enjoys his 156. He just loves it. So, they get under your skin. It's like Busso. It's like musical instruments. So then we thought we'd have a bit of a dream car. And we have the 8C Spider belonging to Alan Greenhalgh. He'll kill me if he hears
Just
that.
check he's not here.
I'm going to redo it so you can edit it. Belonging to Alan Greenhalgh. Fabulous car in metallic white. Go and see it. These cars were a dream machine when they came out. There's about 17 8Cs in the country. Very few Spiders. And it's just phenomenal. Some of the things I love about it are Nick is a Mito owner, and you love your Mito, don't you,
I
Nick?
do indeed, yes.
The Mito had been signed off in around 2005 when the Spider and the 8C Competizione version came out, and at the time then, the Alfa Romeo chairman, Mr. Marchioni, he loved the 8C so much, they said, scrap it, make the Mito look like that. So it was that way round. So if you go and see and look at that car, you see the steering wheel is the same design as a Mito, the round rear headlights, the dashboard, even the little seat design. There's so many subtleties. The flare of the arches. Go on, Nick.
So fortunately, the price tag isn't the same either.
No. So they're well over 200 grand now, but it's not a Mito, sorry, the 8Cs. But that's a dream machine.
I've spent that on my Mito.
Yeah. Let's not go into all that, but yeah. He's not got a tuning box on his, though, has he, Nick? No. So that's a dream machine. And then, of course, the Owners Club's always about all Alfa Romeos from 1910 to date, so we had to have something of the future, and we've got one of the first Alfa Romeo Juniors in the UK, which is an all-electric. It's been quite interesting to get the reaction from people about this machine, but they drive beautifully, apparently, and shared platform with Jeep and Peugeot and so on, but it's been very much Alfa-ized, so you've got lovely steering and so on. And there's a hybrid coming next summer. So we've got a 1.2 petrol hybrid, 136 horsepower. I think with its loads of low-end torque, we think it's going to fill that void left behind by the 1.4 Giulietta, because it's so light, 1.2 tons, it'll have similar performance. So I think that will be very popular. And then if you're lucky enough to benefit from car schemes and so on, the electric models will be amazing. And next year comes the Veloce. I can quiz this man about it.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to drive the 280 horsepower Veloce on a kart track in Lincolnshire, which tells you something about the scale of the Junior. It fits comfortably on the kart track. I have not had so much fun since I bought my 147 GTA. Yeah, 280 horsepower through the front wheels, but with absolutely fantastic torque and diff.
Yeah.
I had fun, but I had almost as much fun as a passenger with one of the two brothers that owns the kart track, who just kept his foot down all the way around the lap. The car just tucks in. You're sitting there waiting for it to understeer, and it doesn't. It just does exactly what you tell it to through the steering wheel. So really nice. Proper Alfa.
So, yeah, it's not a tax dodge EV like you see a lot of them around. It's a proper driving machine. Can't wait to see him. Really can't.
I'd just say that we've got two important cars in the club's history almost on the stand. So when the club started, it was all about rear-wheel drive, big engines. And when the Alfa Sud came along, it was flat four, front-wheel drive, and everyone was like, oh, we don't like this. This is not an Alfa. And now here we are with the Junior, and a lot of people have the same reaction. So where are we going to be in a few years' time?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Dieselgate as well with when they put the turbocharged 156 diesels in the 156s, and there was shock and horror, but then suddenly people realised, actually, these are really nice to drive, But
torque's not a bad thing.
It's all about torque, as everybody knows. But no, again, and this is it. Alfa Romeo's fabulous. Such a variety. If you don't like one, enjoy another. I think the three of us are bonkers enough to love them all, but there's that DNA through the lot. And I think the EV, it's there too. They've got to make it all about the driving experience, and adding limited slip diffs is a great way of doing it in my book.
We'll come back and talk about some of the conversations we had on the stand yesterday, because there was some really interesting visitors came along.
Yeah.
There are a couple of Alfas off the stand. So if anybody's got 80k burning a hole in their pocket, there's an SZ for sale on the Classic Motor Hub stand. And if you haven't voted yet in the Pride of Ownership competition, there's a really nice Giulia Super in pride of ownership. So that's definitely worth a vote.
Should definitely go along and have a look at that.
But for me, one of the highlights of the show is spending time on the stand and talking to members and meeting new people.
Yeah.
And just some of the random conversations you have. So there was a guy turned up yesterday. We talked about Dave's Julia SS.
Yeah.
And he asked me whether Dave was around. He said, because I bought a car off him 16 years ago in order for him to have the funds to buy that Julia that he's just restored.
Yeah.
And he had photos of the car that he'd bought off Dave. So we reunited them on the stand.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
And we also had a gentleman come on yesterday who had also restored one, an SS, who was after talking to Dave. So that's two.
So we reckon there's probably only about 6 SSs in the country.
Yeah.
And to finalise it yesterday afternoon, a lady came over, said, I'm looking to sell my Julia SS. so I had it as a daily drive up until 11 years ago.
Good Lord.
And I put it in a barn. She said, it is a dry barn, but it's been sat there ever since. So that'll be for sale soon. So there you go.
Put Dave onto it, he can spend another 14 years restoring it.
And we've had some interesting technical questions, which the three of us are ill-equipped to answer.
Yeah, we do our best.
We do our best. We did have somebody looking for suspension top mounts for a 939 Spider, which we didn't have in stock on the stand. But
strangely.
No. And I think you had a conversation about Spiker fuel injection parts.
On a 1988 American Series 3 Spider. Do I know what brackets fit underneath this? No. Had a go.
But we probably know somebody who does.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of the club.
Yes. And I think we had a large Irish contingent on the stand.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The several members came over, so from Dublin. And I always forget this. They fly over for the day, and they obviously fly back again. Yeah. And they can get from Dublin to here quicker than I can get from here to home.
Yeah, in Ipswich.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, on Ryanair, it's probably cheaper than parking at the NEC as well, to be fair.
You'll have to edit that out as well, Guy. But
just London Birmingham Airport, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the guys is rebuilding a Montreal V8 in the gorgeous green colour. If he gets it finished,
is that Montreal green?
Yeah, funny enough. Montreal green. With a bit of luck, if he's finished it, we might have it on the show next year. So let's see.
So that's probably enough about the stand, because you can go and see all of that.
Yeah.
We thought we'd talk about a few other things the club's done this year. And as you said earlier, John, events are a big part of...
Certainly are.
Planning events is a big part of your life. And Nick spends half of his life at them. So we started off with a great venue and some not brilliant weather, didn't we?
Not half. Yeah. So we like to try and cover as much of the country as we can. So we thought we'd have Spring Alpha Day in the 60th anniversary year of the club up in Yorkshire. So we booked the fabulous venue, the Yorkshire Wildlife Park near Doncaster, and we'd sold plenty of tickets, and then it started raining at about 3 a.m. and didn't stop till midday. And we were going to park on grass, and my God, did it rain.
It was the Yorkshire Wildlife Swamp.
Yeah. It was more, just ridiculous. So happily, there was an area of hard standing we could move to, but that gradually filled up with water too. So I think you flew your drone, Guy, didn't you? And we've got footage.
I had a 15-minute window when it was... Yeah. The rain went off, and I managed to get the drone up and just got it down as it started raining again.
Yeah. So we can see all these cars around a lake. So it looks like we're at a fishing regatta or something. But yeah, there may have been about 450 car tickets sold, but about maybe 150 cars actually made it there. But it was very much a Dunkirk spirit thing, and people forged off to look at the animal park and the dinosaur area. And it's great they've got real live dinosaurs. Well, they were moving anyway, but... so fabulous venue, horrendous weather, but we moved on from that one.
Yeah, and then we had a couple of events in May. Scottish Italian Car Day.
Yes, that was what's the word? Wet again.
Wet, yeah.
So,
more mileage on the club events.
A long way to go if you're wet. I hasten to add, but
yeah,
I would say that you think maybe Scotland wet is obvious, but that's the first wet one we've had up there. So, and we've had like 40 degrees up there before. So it's normally really good, really good venue. But it's just a bit unfortunate this year. But we had Southwest Alpha Day at the Tank Museum in Dorset, and that was a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah,
great new venue for the club.
You went too quickly then. When you said in Dorset, I would have said, yes, it's a lovely place.
Oh, no, not that joke.
I was going to do a wet joke, but it would have meant having to do
another wet
Spring Alpha Day and then Scottish Italian Car Day and then Mick Car.
Yeah,
which is how we ended
too
the
late.
season.
Yeah, when it was very wet. But so should we go through the other ones in the middle, or we can talk about them. Certainly, there was Cotswold Alpha Day, wasn't there, Nick?
That was another sunny day at the classic Motor Hub, is it? Yes. Okay, yeah. Again, that's a new venue for the club. Went down very well.
And for those of you who like to drive your cars, the nice thing about Cotswold Alpha Day is they do a 50 or 60 mile navigational run. So you start off with bacon sandwiches or a full English at a pub in the morning and then drive to the show, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's worked great for years, and they're often a really, really nice finish as well at a country home.
I think they try and keep it as a section event because of the driving element. They can't have it too big, but people come from all over the country for it now.
Yeah,
so
just to join in. Yeah. You have to have a ticket limit. So that was that one, and then the whopper is National Alpha Day. I mentioned it early on, but Vista Heritage is a brilliant venue for car clubs, and a couple of years ago we extended it to include the circuit as well. So we have parade laps led by a racing driver, funnily enough, this year driving a Stelvio rather than his own Alfa Spider. But it's a lovely opportunity.
I think he wore the door handles off his Spider, cornering the previous year.
He did, yeah. I mean, theoretically it's limited to about 60 miles an hour, but it's normally a little bit quicker than that. And it's actually tremendous fun. And I think there's about 400 cars take part in that in different time slots on that little less than 1 mile loop track. But for many, it's the first time they've ever been on a racing track, even though it's a parade, and it's a lovely idea. You get an idea for what it's like.
And occasionally it's the first time they've ever run their Giulia Quadrifoglio in race mode.
Yeah, and then we've had a couple of incidents in race mode with them going sideways on cold Pirellis.
The tree looked better afterwards.
Yeah, so
Giulia not so much.
We could gloss over that, couldn't we? But yeah, National Alpha Day this year, we, apart from the circuit, we had some spectacular cars along, and Carol Corliss, who's our organiser of the kind of historic register and very close with the VSCC, she's got so many contacts. She was able to invite her friends in these magnificent pre-war Alfa Romeos from, I think the earliest was a 1924, forgotten the model now, absolutely beautiful machine. So
it was an RLSS.
RLSS, 100 years old, and we had some of Sir Anthony Bamford's cars along as well.
Yellow with JCB logo.
Yeah, little JCB logos on them. But probably the best bit for me with those was when they had their parade lap, and I just come off the mic interviewing somebody or something, and then it was fire up time. And to hear these 8-cylinder machines and 6-cylinder inline supercharged cars fire up, it was like, wow. And then for them to go around the track chasing along the Junior Veloce electric car was like, this is a bizarre sight. Those guys, when they designed these cars 100 years ago, would they have ever believed it today?
Although 100 years ago, electric was still.
You're right, there were electric cars, popular, of course. It was kind of kicking around, wasn't it? But the owners actually loved it. They've just never had opportunity to do that either. So they were immersed into the general club life. So apart from that, we had all of the cars parked up in different groups by model. Well over 1,200 Alphas and a couple of hundred non-Alphas there. Amazing.
You've forgotten all the hard work you put into organising the cars for the Heritage hangar, John.
Yes. So we hired the big hangar there as well, really, as just in case it rained. But we were able to get, I forget the exact number now, but it was over.
There was mine and some others.
There was about 100 cars through the years that we were able to do from the 1920s and onwards, though we were really aiming at the club's years from the 60s, but we were able to get representative cars by model, and it was really amazing to see those various designs and how the cars have evolved through the years right up to date. So we had that, and we had the classics around the engineering zone with the leafy lanes and the buildings of the Bicester engineering zone. That was really something else. But there was this feeling of camaraderie. We had people over from the Belgian Alfa Club, even from Slovenia. There was a big clan from Slovenia who absolutely loved it.
Even brought their own rival club van, Nick.
Well, not a rival, I wouldn't say, but
Yeah, it was. Nothing's as good as a Iveco, I'll have you know. But no, it was just a spectacular day. And we had a number of celebrities. We had Jules Tillstone along, the boss of Alfa UK. He could not believe it, seeing a field with like 100 Alfa Giulias in and a stack of quadrifolios. He was just blown away.
all set to music from the live Italian band, of course.
Exactly, and loads of things for kids. We'd got kiddie carts, face painting, you name it. And then we also had some other celebrities, as it were, in the club. We had David Gibbons over, who used to work for Alfa GB back in the day for many years, and he brought a number of that clan from the old Alfa GB days. It was fascinating just to have 15 minutes chatting with him about the entertainment they used to have trying to homologate Italian cars for the UK market, and loads of stories. But yeah, Nad was out of this world.
And then we've had a couple more regional events. We've had Southern Alpha Day and Northern Alpha Day and
Midlands Italian Car Day. Yeah, and did we have any dry weather among those, Nick? I can't remember. A little bit.
Southern started off very wet in the morning, but by lunchtime dried out. It was a really nice afternoon. Guy drove up from Goodwood to get some drone footage of it into Essex and back again.
It was another day when I arrived, waited for a 15-minute window, got the drone up, and then left again.
Yeah.
No, that was a really good event. So,
yeah.
And then we went following weekend. We were in Yorkshire for Northern Alpha Day.
Yeah.
Not so sunny, unfortunately.
Near Leeds.
Yeah, but it happened last. We've been to the venue before. It's been fine. It was just a national weather thing, as they say.
Yeah.
And then the weekend after that was the event that was the Damp Mick car.
Yeah, we've done Midlands Italian Car Day since 2001. There's only been a couple of really wet ones, but we thought we'd go ahead. The beauty of it is people can buy tickets online, so we knew a lot of people could potentially be coming, and we've got, as well as the Alphas coming, we've got Fiat Club, Fiat 500, Bath, and they'll come out in any weather. So we went ahead. But yeah, really enjoyable. All of the events, it's just fab to kind of share that Alpha camaraderie and kind of bit of Dunkirk spirit when it's chucking down with rain, but it's good fun, always good fun. Big part of the club.
So one of the interesting things I've learned is when we do the online podcast, we get a drop off at about half an hour when people stop listening, and that appears to be true live as well. So,
we've lost a couple now.
Thank you for those who've stayed along. Don't want to spend a huge amount of time. I think one of the things about this show is it's a kind of rare celebration of car clubs, which I think for the younger generation is almost a dying concept of why would you pay money and join a club and go to actual events with people, and so just spend a couple of minutes talking about some of the club's benefits, and then in particular the new Guardian scheme.
Yeah, so everybody's after saving a bit of money, and we've always tried and had a range of benefits to save a few quid here or there, make running your car that little bit cheaper. So we have, for example, insurance. We've got the club's insurance scheme with Chris Knott, who's competitive and offers a good service. That's always been a good thing.
And the Pirelli offer on new tyres. Save up to £200 on 4 new tyres, depending on the size. 120, is it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really handy.
That's inflation for you.
No, there'll be a load of tyre gags, won't there? Yeah. No, we'll try and avoid that with you. But yeah, we've got a great relationship with Pirelli. Obviously, Italian brand of many years, and they offer a super scheme, and you can buy you can use the scheme 4 times a year, I believe, on any type of car.
So for a Giulia quadrifoglio, that covers a year's worth of rear tyres.
So that's a super discount arrangement with them. We've got all kinds of arrangements with everything as varied as getting torches cheap to Best Western Hotels, is it, Nick? And
it is Best Western. Halfords have also just renewed with us for another 12 months to get the discount there. Yeah, you can use it in store anywhere.
And of course, Alfa Romeo.
And Alfa Romeo, yeah, with the affinity scheme. So if you're a paying member and you've been a paying member for more than 6 months, you can get several £1,000s off a brand new one just by showing your club membership card. So if you're after one of the last V6 Masterpiece quadrifolios, you can save up to £4,000 just by being a club member, which would cover a few years worth of membership.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to have that opportunity and, you know, that backing from Alfa UK for the club. So that's a big one.
And talking of big ones,
yes,
there's a 120-page 6 times a year magazine.
Absolutely, and Alfa Drive has just been going from strength to strength. And again, it's driven by club member content, covers the full range of Alfa Romeos, and for youngsters as well. There's also, you know, you can really learn about the brand. If you love your little Mito, then go and see all about Alfa 8Cs and so on in that content alone. And we've gone digital too. There's an Tiziario newsletter that's out.
That's easy for you to see.
Yeah, I've practiced. The Tiziario is a lovely online production just for club members. So you can again get your own features in there too. Of course, it's all club member driven. And then online, the website's grown very well. There's loads of facilities on there. A couple of other bits. Car valuations for insurance. As a club member, you get those done for free. We've got a great classifieds operation. And we've got an enormous Facebook following now with the AROC, biggest of its kind in the UK by miles.
Not forgetting the DVLA liaison that Ken does.
Oh, yeah. So if you have
your car, re-register your car, anything like that.
Yeah, you want to get in touch with, want to understand its history, then that can all be done through the car club.
And then right up to date, we've got things like virtual racing and I think we do a podcast.
I think we do one, yeah, sometimes. Yeah, virtual racing's popular and good fun. So, and then we do have a forum as well. That's still a bit dusty, but it's still there online.
Yeah, and the people who love it.
They do. Yeah, and it's got its place. You know, it's got its following. Of course, it's effectively behind a firewall. So we push various benefits through there, like discounts to events and, you know, even tickets today, £4 cheaper, or $3.50 today, I think. But and then through being a club member.
The latest thing we've launched, which is a sort of modern retro fusion, is the Guardian scheme. So if you look at the cars that are on the stand, each one of them has what looks like a tax disc in the windscreen with a QR code on it. If you scan those QR codes, it will take you to the Guardian website page for that car. Yeah. So every member who's registered their car with the club gets their own mini website for each car.
It's a microsite.
Microsite, yeah. So, you know, we all like meeting people and talking to people at events, but if you come across an interesting car, the owner's not around, you can just scan the QR code and you can find the history of that car.
Yeah. I think it's growing. We've got around 500 on it now, I think, and it's certainly growing, but we were talking about Dave Ward's Julia SS, but, you know, we were describing photographs. But if you just saw that at a club show or any car show, you could scan that and be immersed in all that story. So you've not going to have carrying around printouts with you and photographs. It's all online. But, yeah, it's good fun. And some of them have turned into blogs, you know.
Yeah. The nice thing about it for me is the reason it's called Guardian is because all of that content is tied to the car, not to the person.
Yeah.
So if you sell that car, when the new owner registers that they own that car with the club, they then take ownership of that Guardian microsite.
Yeah.
So they can start adding their own history. And obviously, if you're buying a car, it's a great way to do a little bit of research about the car before you buy it.
It's open to the world. It's not closed to club members, obviously, but a really nice scheme and all free.
Yeah.
I think there's some similar offerings that you have to pay to use, but we developed ours first, I believe. So, and it's growing. Nice thing.
So I'm very conscious of time.
Yeah.
We normally do 30 minutes. There will be somebody waiting to come in and set up for the next podcast. So I think we'll bring it to a close. Mm-hmm. Just for those of you, if anybody's enjoyed what we talked about this morning. We do have a monthly podcast, comes out at 1:30 p.m. on the first Sunday of every month. So the next one will actually be December the 1st. When we've got big events coming up, it's a round table kind of similar to this, but we've done interviews with the managing director of Alfa UK, with racing drivers, with long-term members of the club.
Mike Brewer even.
We even had Mike Brewer on an early one talking about some of the Alphas that have been on some of Mike's shows. So
it's not just us waffling on.
It's not just. Well, it's mostly me waffling on, but not always John and Nick.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it from us. Thank you very much for coming along and taking the time to listen, and we'll talk to you on the next podcast. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll put that applause on the end of every podcast now.
Can you make it louder?
Yeah, some whoops and hollows.
Yeah.